You've just found the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Here, you'll discover the people and places that make Montana like no other place in the world. If you love to fish, hunt, or just enjoy creating your own adventure in the outdoors, you have come to the right place. The Montana Outdoor Podcast is brought to you by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go to rmtte.com and see everything they have waiting for you online, or just come by 5680 Expressway in Missoula, and by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, delivering the highest quality lumber, paneling, flooring, and reclaimed wood products anywhere in North America. Let them guide you through the woods at their showroom in Missoula on Highway 93 South or at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, let's go discover Montana's great outdoors with your host, Downrigger Dale. Have a great show, buddy. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you very much, Roger. And as Roger just said, I am Downrigger Dale of the Montana Outdoor Podcast. So glad you all could join in again this week. And we are continuing on with this great group of podcasts all about hunting across Montana. And we'll get into that in a second. But first, I wanted to welcome a few groups that have been just huge supporters and been tagging along with us ever since we started this podcast couple of years ago. Number one is our active military all across and around the world. We're just so proud and honored to have so many of you on military bases all around the world and that watch this podcast. And we hope what you see and hear brings a little bit of home back to you. And thank you so much for your service and protecting us all around the world. Speaking of that, also want to thank our veterans in Montana and across the United States and around the world for your service. Thank you for all that you have done for our great country. Another thing I want to quick ask you folks about is, if you could, we really appreciate it if you would like and share and subscribe to this podcast. Helps us out a great deal and great way to be able to push a lot more information out to you. Of course, it's only when you check it, so we don't email or bug you or anything like that. So feel free to do that. Helps us out a lot, and it gets the word out to a lot of hunters and fishermen and all that around. So we'd love it if you'd do that. Now, I want to get into Region 2. Now, this happens to be a region that I live in. When I'm here, I do travel around the state a lot and around other neighboring states a lot. But what we've been doing, folks, is just going through all the different things, hunting forecasts and all that for each region. And also just covering a few specific things in each region that hunters need to know about that will help you have a little more success, hopefully. And joining me is Trenton Heisel. You've probably seen Trenton a few times if you watch any of the FWP videos. In fact, I just was watching him earlier on the It's Up to Us podcast, which is out now. You guys should take a look at that. Just a lot of great prizes you can win, all just for learning more about the It's Up to Us program. And in fact, Trenton and I will talk a bit more about that as it relates to Region 2. So take a look at that. Trenton, let's have you talk a little bit about yourself first and introduce yourself to all the folks around the world and around Montana. How long have you been with FWP? What made you decide to get in this crazy wildlife game and all that?
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Dale. I appreciate it. Yeah, so my name's Trenton Heisel. I'm the Regional Access Manager here in Missoula, Region 2. Going back, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I'll humbly admit,
want to.
I'll humbly admit I'm not from Montana originally. I was raised in Washington, but my family was diehard hunters and anglers, and growing up, they started coming out here to Montana and hunting as non-residents, and they'd go up to a little town called Glasgow. I'm sure you've heard of it, and started getting to know landowner up there really well, became almost like family. So I heard all these stories about Montana. So of course I graduated high school and came on out. I went to Montana State University, so I'm in the wrong part of Montana to be able to admit that. But yeah, graduate with a fish and wildlife degree from MSU in 2016, and just did what a lot of us do, natural resources. I jumped around for a couple of years, doing various wildlife jobs. I finally landed a job with FWP as a hunting access technician up in Glasgow, which was really cool. That was my first foot in the door job with them. And hunting access technicians is essentially what we have as patrollers for our block management areas. So ever since then, I've always had a knack for access, a love for it, especially because up there in Glasgow, I learned that one of the rancher that my family grew up hunting on was actually one of the first in block management.
Oh, wow.
So
Cool.
yeah, I had no idea that growing up that my family met them through block management. If it wasn't for the program, I honestly probably wouldn't be in Montana. That was how I had heard about so much great things about the state. So I never left, have been with FWP since 2017 in various capacities. I actually was the regional access manager in Billings for about 2.5 years, but I just moved here to Region 2 about a year ago. So I'm still kind of fresh.
Awesome. Well, Glasgow seems to be a place that has imported some great folks. If it wasn't for Glasgow, I wouldn't be here. My parents met in Glasgow many, many, many years ago. So that's why I got to be around. I spent a lot of time over on Fort Peck Reservoir and just love that whole area. The people of Eastern Montana are some of the greatest folks you'll ever meet. Yeah, just the
Absolutely.
salt of the earth types of folks. Not that other people in other areas of Montana aren't, but it really is a special place. So let's talk a bit about Region 2. Can you give us kind of a brief description of what Region 2 is like, just for folks that, may be thinking about hunting here for the first time, as far as size of Region 2, where it's located, terrain, those kind of things?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Region 2 is located on the far western edge of Montana. We're just south of Flathead Lake, which is Region 1. We border Region 1. And then to the east is Region 3. So Region 2 is interesting. You've got quite a bit of variety. In some instances, you have really thick forested mountains terrain that can produce some amazing whitetail and elk hunting. But it's super thick, kind of tougher to hunt for hunters. But then as farther east as you go, you start getting that mixed conifer habitat, a little bit more open plains, what you kind of expect. But it's a really great variety. And depending upon what you like to hunt, you can almost find it anywhere here in Region 2.
As far as the hunting goes, give us an idea as far as access in how much of Region 2 is private land, how much of it is public, and that, if you can.
Yeah. So Region 2 is interesting, where the majority of the land is actually public land. So about 61% is either federally or state-owned lands. And a lot of it has amazing access opportunities. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of landlocked public lands, the majority that you can get to if you're willing to hoof it. So that's really great for access opportunities. The hardest part is the terrain, to be honest. I mean, you know this area pretty well, Dale. It can be steep. I mean, so if you're willing to get after it, a guy can get into a completely different zone of a mountain range just by really boot packing it in. So even though access might be tougher in some instances out here in Region 2, there's still a lot of great public land potential. And then what I focus on specifically is working with private landowners to allow public access.
Yeah.
Our bread and butter program is the block management program, and we have about over 300,000 acres in that program for 2025.
Wow.
But there's still a lot more access opportunities from building relationships. And we also have other access programs other than block management that some folks might actually not realize exist.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting in Region 2, and it might be a little unique. Region 1 might have the same kind of thing, but what I find is you can kind of wander from public to private access a lot in Region 2. And sometimes you got to be a little careful of that. I know on our ranch, we bordered really on 3 sides of our ranch were all public access. And so a lot of folks would kind of wander in. And so that kind of made it a unique thing, though. We were always really open to allowing hunters until one day a hunter shot one of my dad's bulls, and then it was over. And
Oh my
never,
gosh.
never could get him to allow any hunting access after that. Um, just, the old thing of know your target and beyond, and
Yeah,
not a good deal.
I could believe it. And sadly, you're right. Like that, those instances is sometimes what makes or break access in Montana, especially landowners that are enrolled in block management. One thing that folks might not know, and especially landowners that might be listening, is that through the block management program or any access programs here with FWP, we have what's called livestock loss reimbursement.
Yeah.
So if we do have an instance where, sadly, if a bull gets shot, a horse gets shot, we actually have the ability to reimburse that landowner. We find the fair market value, and we'll try to compensate that landowner back for that loss.
Yeah,
So,
and that's good things to keep in mind for you landowners. For us hunters, one of the things that's covered a little bit in the "It's Up to Us" program. And by the way, if you folks have not watched the video I just did with Greg Lemon, check that out. There's a lot of different incentives to learn about the program, and you can win all kinds of prizes. But one of the things that can happen in Region 2 a lot is, we see that prize buck, we, get a shot off, things are going okay, but he doesn't go down, he jumps the fence onto private property. And that's covered a little bit in that, but talk a bit about that. What's the best thing to do as a hunter? Because you can't, even though you just shot it, and you think, well, I guess I saw him go down. It'll only take me a few minutes. You cannot go on that property without permission.
exactly. Yeah. So we highly recommend hunters, if you're in that instance, if you can figure out who owns the land, either through Montana Cadastral or some third-party apps, figure out who owns that property and give a quick Google search. Honestly, a lot of times you can still find those phone numbers through the yellow pages and be able to get a hold of the landowner and really explain your situation. I mean, most landowners are going to understand that things happen. If you explain that, shot it on legally accessible land and it hopped the fence and you know where you're at, explain that to the landowner and just apologizing for the instance. A lot of times they'll get you in good graces and be able to get you to retrieve that. But if you can't figure out how to contact the landowner, giving one of our wardens a shout, especially the local wardens and biologists, they know a lot of folks within the community, and they might even be willing to give that landowner a shout and explain the situation and make that connection for the
Yeah.
hunter. Because like you said, even though that you shot the animal on accessible land, if it hops the fence, you still need to gain that permission in order to access it. And even if it's 10 yards, 20 yards across the fence, it's much better just to admit the fault, explain to the landowner instead of trying to sneak it off, because that's how we ruin relationships.
Yeah, and then that goes back to how it can ruin it for everybody. So, yeah, good advice there. Let's talk about your access. From what I've been able to see in Region 2, you guys have been growing that access here lately, haven't you? Talk a bit about
Yeah,
where you're at on that now.
Yeah, for the most part, Region 2 has been either steady or been growing historically. But the one thing that, it's an interesting caveat that I want to throw out there. If you look at the hard number acreage of block management enrolled in Region 2 or even statewide, if you just look at the acreage, it tends to look like we're losing access, but that's not necessarily the case. So for instance, here in Region 2, we've historically lost about 400,000 acres, but majority of that land was actually Plum Creek timberlands that were bought out by the Nature Conservancy. And since 96, about 400,000 acres has been actually transferred from private ownership to public ownership.
Ah, okay.
So it's a weird caveat where it seems like we're losing acres in block management, but majority of it's going to perpetual public access. Um, but as for our program, if you pull those out, every year we're getting new landowners in the program. We're expanding. We're working with smaller ranches nowadays. The demographic is changing, but we've got some amazing landowners in the program, and it's been successful.
Now, there's a lot of ways to get access in Region 2. So let's start with public lands. You gave us a good picture of how much public land is accessible to hunters in Region 2, but let's dig a little deeper into that. Can you go over the different types of public access that is available to hunters in Region 2?
The majority of public land ownership here in Region 2 is U.S. Forest Service lands.
Okay.
And each land management agency does have certain restrictions on motorized use, state limits, backcountry limits, food storage requirements. But for the most part, yeah, Forest Service is the primary. We do have some Bureau of Land Management lands, especially right outside of Missoula.
Mhm.
That's actually the land management agency that has been taking over quite a bit of the Nature Conservancy lands.
Okay.
The other public land that we do have here is actually owned by the University of Montana. And those ones are a little bit different. There are a little bit more restrictions on them. For instance, the Bandy Ranch, which is up by the Blackfoot Clearwater, we actually have enrolled in the block management program. So
Oh.
hunters, yeah, so hunters should keep in mind that even though it looks like public land owned by, University of Montana, you should always consult the hunt planner or at least consult that land management agency, because there might be rules like our block management rules that are supposed to make it a little bit more tighter knit of a hunt because of its smaller size.
Is there any one piece of technology that might be a little more helpful in planning a hunt for Region 2?
Yeah. You know, the most helpful, in my opinion, is actually our FWP hunt planner.
Okay.
A lot of folks overlook it, but the thing that I'd love to point out to folks is that the hunt planner actually has all of our access programs on it. So block management's our bread and butter program, but we have conservation easements that are listed on the hunt planner. We've got what we call regional access projects that are hunting access projects that are a little bit more fine tailored. Like, for instance, we have a project that's specifically a hunting blind, or two hunting blinds technically, for permit to hunt from vehicle hunters, but it's specifically for that demographic. But third party apps aren't actually utilizing that geospatial data that we create here in house for the access program. So the hunt planner can be a really useful piece of technology that completely gets overlooked.
If we're having problems understanding how to work that hunt planner deal, where would we find, and this is a question I get quite often, where do we find information on how to use it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the easiest thing would be to give us a shout here at one of the regional offices, whatever region you're specifically looking for. We're more than happy to walk you through it, because there is some funky things with toggling on different layers, just like Onyx and third-party apps. You got to know how to work it. I do believe we have a YouTube video out there, but I think it's a little outdated. But the big key thing that folks miss is you can toggle on block management layer in the hunt planner, but you
Oh,
got to toggle on the other access layer. And other access layer actually has our public access land agreements, our regional access project,
okay.
conservation easements. Yeah. So, and we are starting to share that data with third party organizations, but it just hasn't gotten standardized yet with them. So
Mhm.
for the time being, you can find some honey holes and opportunities you had no idea existed by looking at the hunt planner.
Yeah, and this is why we do this podcast every year, is for those little nuggets of information that can really help you, like you say, find a few little honey holes and nuggets that you didn't know were out there. Now, we've talked about public access, and you've given us some great ideas there. Any things we should know about for getting access onto private lands in Region 2?
So the way the block management program's set up, and a lot of hunters are probably used to these terminology, but
Mhm.
we've got what's called type 1 and type 2 block management areas. Type 1, you see all the time. It's where there's a little kiosk, a sign-in box, you sign in, and you get to go hunting. Type 2, though, requires two different types of people, and that's kind of why we call it type 2. You gotta have the hunter to get permission,
Mhm.
and you gotta either have the landowner or a department staff to get permission. So when hunters are planning their hunt, it's really key for them to look at each property's rules and figure out what type it is and how to gain permission. Because we've had instances where folks show up and they don't read the rules fine-tuned that says you got to have verbal permission beforehand before signing in. And we've gotten folks in trouble before because of that. So really fine night looking at the rules is going to make your hunt trip a heck of a lot better. The other thing that I should throw out too is that some of our properties we actually manage here at FWP for the reservation system, and they're either administered through a lottery system or a first come first serve. But we're able to help those landowners out by saying, hey, if you don't have the time, you don't want to take the phone calls, we can actually take it here at the office. But if the hunter goes out there not expecting that they've got to give a phone call,
Yeah.
it might be in for a bummer.
In the podcast description, I'll put a link to Trenton's email, and then that way you folks can email him if you have some specific questions, and he can kind of guide you along. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, I want to get into, we mentioned that It's Up to Us program, but there's kind of a unique thing for Region 2 in that, of course, that's where the University of Montana is located. And I don't know how you guys pulled this off, but you've got a really neat incentive to get some Grizz tickets. So we'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I want to have you listen to some information from one of our sponsors who actually is located in Region 2, and that's Superior Hardwoods of Montana. And I'm going to tell you what, if you're coming here hunting, maybe you're not from here, be sure to take some time to go see them. They're just on Highway 93, just a little south of Missoula. Anyway, listen to this, and here's a lot of reasons to check that out if you're going to be in town. I want to take a minute to thank Superior Hardwoods of Montana for their support of this podcast. It is what allows us to bring you the latest from Montana's great outdoors, with very few interruptions, by the way. That said, there is another reason we are lucky to have Superior Hardwoods of Montana on board. They are an amazing business that can offer all of you some of the most incredible wood products you have ever seen. Plus, Superior Hardwoods of Montana is still a place that actually cares about and appreciates their customers, the same way we appreciate you, our viewers and listeners. They offer you something original and totally unique, like their 11 acres of wood wall paneling, flooring, trim, beams, slabs, well, you name it. Every single piece has a story behind it. Wood from old barns, historic homesteads, even historic factories. And that amazing wood can be part of your story too. Right there in your home can be a piece of American history, brought back to life, custom milled and refinished to your specifications. So it not only tells its original story, but also speaks to who you are and how special your home is. Superior Hardwoods also has exotic woods, live edge slabs, pre-finished and unfinished flooring too, all in stock and ready to go. Need help picking out the right material? Just ask. Their team has been doing this since 1977. They know how to guide you through the woods. Swing into their beautiful showroom at 5120 Highway 93 South in Missoula, or you can just check them out online at superior-hardwoods.com. That's Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Local, knowledgeable, family run, and ready to help you build something that lasts. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast, Trenton Heisel is my guest, and we've been talking about Region 2. This is all part of our series of all the different things you need to know about hunting around the state. This is specifically Region 2 in western Montana. Now, we mentioned a little bit about the It's Up to Us program, but I would imagine a lot of hunters in Region 2 are probably Grizz fans, since the University of Montana is here. And you mentioned there's even some ways to hunt on University of Montana land in Region 2. Talk about the incentive that you guys have put together. And of course, that's for anyone in the state. Doesn't have to be just Region 2. To get what they want to do, folks, is get you to watch the video and take a little test. I took the test, and tops was like 20 minutes, if that. I think I finished it even sooner. And by the way, I passed. I didn't get 100% though. I thought I would, but some things I didn't think about that I'm learning. So this is good stuff. Talk about those incentives that you have, and how the University of Montana got involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back a couple years, actually, we recognize that what we've got is the Hunter Landowner Stewardship Program. It's the course that we've had for about 15 years, and it's supposed to identify or teach hunters some things about private property and access that they might not think about as just a hunter without a ranch background. And our amazing ComEd team was able to revamp that program over the last couple of years, and we finally launched it. So yeah, like you said, it's about 4 or 5 videos. It goes over some pretty basic things that you should think about, like not running up roads, closing gates, thanking landowners, and just showing gratitude for the allowing access. And with that, the It's Up to Us campaign, we were able to partner with University of Montana and MSU to show off and campaign for better hunter behavior on these private properties. So if you take the Hunter Landowner Stewardship Program right now, you get entered for a couple different prizes, and I can't remember the specifics on it, but the one you're referencing is Grizz tickets.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting opportunity, and honestly, you do learn a lot, and there's some tricky questions, but we've got a couple different groups that sponsored the program, giving out different prizes through raffles. And highly encourage folks to take it and just see what it's about, and give us feedback on it too. It is a work in progress. I think we are still going to revamp some of the content, add more content in over the years. And we're always looking to hear like what maybe we missed the mark on. So yeah.
In fact, if you take the test and all that, I think it's before December. The folks at Onyx are going to give you 3 months worth of Onyx Elite, which is like their top high-end deal for Onyx maps and all that. So if you haven't already had it. So that's just for doing it. That isn't even a maybe you'll win or not. You get that. So pretty cool.
And it is really neat. Yeah.
That's awful nice of Onyx to do that. So there's some little nuggets that I think you folks ought to get involved in. Now, do you have any tips that you could share with us as far as things that might help? We've talked about some of the things that would help plan the hunt. As far as when we go beyond that, and we see it all the time, you're driving along and you go, wow, now that looks like prime bull elk country or prime whitetail buck country. But it is private and it is not on block management. Go through that. That doesn't mean you may not be able to hunt there. Talk about how we can gain access in Region 2 for some of those on the private land side.
I'm glad you brought this up, because that's one thing that we do encourage hunters to do, is that there are private landowners out there that maybe they just don't want to put the name block management on their property, and they allow hunting access if you ask. So the biggest thing for us right now is building that hunter landowner relationship back up. And the easiest, simplest thing that you can possibly do is just be a nice person, approach the landowner at an appropriate time, not at 5 a.m. You don't want to go knocking on doors at 5 a.m., waking folks up. But I guess if you're really planning the hunt, like you're saying, if you're driving by and you see a property, figure out who owns that property and either, do a quick Google search, see if you can find a phone number, or if you see the ranch house or the rancher out and about on their property, as long as it doesn't seem like they're busy,
Right.
because that's the big thing too. You don't want to interrupt their ranching
It
operation.
is a business. Yeah. So,
It's a business, absolutely. And then, yeah, there's some of the busiest folks I've ever worked with before and love them to dear. But yeah, sometimes it's tough to get a hold of them. But honestly, if you can figure out, how to get a hold of them, explain who you are, what you're looking for, potentially offer, hey, if you allow me to come out here and hunt, like, is there anything I can offer back to you? Like, do you need anything fixed or checked up on? Some of our property owners, honestly, one of the things that they love about having hunters is getting a report on what their cows are doing. If they see
Yeah.
cows in a pasture that's not supposed to be there, hunters report back and the ranch goes, oh, that one's been missing for a while. I'm glad you said that. I can go find it now. So, but honestly, at the end of the day, just showing gratitude and expect to know if you're talking with a private landowner that's not formally in a program, it's their right to say no. So expect that, but honestly, be a little bit more optimistic that you might get a yes out there, and it doesn't hurt to ask as long as you're being respectful of their time and their capacity and explain who you are. And then if you do get that access, show the gratitude back, say thank you. Some hunters like to send, especially non-residents, they like to send gifts back from their home state, maple syrup,
Yeah.
smoked salmon, all sorts of stuff, So it definitely will help our cause of building that landowner hunter relationship back up.
Now, is there anything else, Trenton, that I haven't covered yet as far as access goes in Region 2 that you want to cover before we get into talking about some of the critters running around on Region 2?
Yeah, one big thing that I do want to encourage hunters to participate in is inside the It's Up to Us campaign. A couple of years ago, a group of us was talking and going back to the hunter landowner relationship, we realized that some hunters might not have a good resource to actually thank the landowner back, especially when
yeah.
it's a type 1 block management area. So our ComEd team was able to develop this thank a landowner portal where you can jump on, you can type in which, BMA it is or the prior property owner's name and give a thank you right then and there in the portal. And then what happens at the end of the hunting season is our ComEd team actually consolidates those, takes them, identifies which landowners got the thank you, and we'll mail them from Helena directly to that landowner. And that's going a long ways, especially with some of our absentee landowners or our type 1s, which you just sign in and go, that might not ever get to see those hunters. They're getting thank you notes and hearing how much it means to folks that they're getting the privilege to hunt the property. So I really encourage folks to go out there and at the end of your hunt, like, make sure to fill out that thank a landowner portal and show the gratitude back, because
I'm glad you brought that up. And that's such a good point, because when you get on type 1, you may not have any clue as to where it's at because it's already set up and you just sign in and off you go. And this is a great way to thank these folks, and that helps ensure more access down the road, hopefully. So I love that idea. Let's talk a bit about the game that we can find in Region 2 in Western Montana. Have you guys ever kept any records as far as what is the most harvested game in Region 2?
Ooh, that's a dang good question. And yeah, I think at least from our hunter check stations that our biologists do, we can look at those hard numbers and see what is the most harvested. To be honest, I don't have that right off the top of my head. But the most popular by far hunting wise here in Region 2, whether that's harvested or not, is elk.
Yeah.
Elk is the primary big game that people will chase out here. And there's some really good opportunities.
Yeah, the bull elk is always the superstar of the show. Although there's some great whitetail hunting in that too, but bull elk, where would we find those? Are there any particular hunting districts in Region 2 that might be better than others for finding some bulls?
Yeah, so the most popular and the most elk populated is actually up the Upper Clark Fork districts. So
Okay.
that's stretching on up to Deer Lodge, Anaconda area, up into the Pillar Mountains. That's your
Got
primary
that
opportunities.
yeah.
Absolutely. But the thing about it too is that there are still elk across this entire region. They just might be smaller herd, a little tougher to get access to. I mean, for instance, down the Bitterroot Valley, we do have elk that primarily are along the river bottom. But the further down you go, the more private property you run into. So access to those elk might be a little bit more difficult unless you can catch them as they move up and down the mountain
Right.
slope and whatnot.
Mhm.
So there's definitely opportunity out there, even stretching all the way out to Mineral County, on your way along the I-90 corridor. I find elk out there a lot, but it's thicker country, tougher to see elk, even
Yeah.
tougher for a biologist to actually do the surveys on them just because of the terrain.
Mhm. Now the one of the tools, and I've got the link right there in the podcast description as far as finding out more about this type of stuff, as far as where is that game and what are the populations looking like, and that's the 2025 hunting forecast. And for Region 2, it lays out some great information for you that'll, again, more little nuggets information to help you get that going. Um, can you talk about a bit about the elk hunting opportunities as far as your population numbers go? Have you seen elk? Have the numbers been going up or down, or what does that look like for Region 2 as a whole?
Yeah, as a whole, the last 2 years, we've been having some really good elk recruitment. So the winter of 2023-24 was a pretty mild year, followed up by this last winter, 24-25. And recruitment wise was really great for elk. We do have a couple districts that are over objective, which is stated in our elk management plan, and then a few that do seem like they're stable.
Mhm.
So the population really hasn't boomed. It hasn't decreased. It's just about borderline. But that Deer Lodge kind of Upper Clark Fork herd, we've seen the last couple years really increase, and we're anticipating hunting success to be pretty dang good this season.
Mhm.
But so as for the most part, we're looking pretty good.
So for just being able to put some meat in the freezer, and nobody likes to dine on tag soup at the end of the season when luck didn't quite work out. But those elk shoulder seasons can be a great way to just put some meat in the freezer. So for those seasons, do you anticipate some pretty good late elk hunting in Region 2 that we might be able to find?
Yeah, it's always tough with the shoulder season because shoulder season success really does depend upon the weather.
Mhm.
So we've had years where big snowfalls push elk out of the hills onto private, onto some of our block management areas that are open for the shoulder season, and success can be really good. You do have to consult the regulations per the district
Right.
because a lot of our shoulder seasons only apply to private land. So if the weather doesn't push those elk out of the Forest Service or the mountains, you might not anticipate seeing elk down below where you can actually legally hunt them.
Mhm.
But the Farmer's Almanac is calling for a pretty dang good year so
Yeah.
for snowfall. So if they're right, I honestly think that the shoulder season, if you're looking to get a cow and get some meat in the freezer, it's going to be a good year for it, I think.
How about for mule deer? What's the mule deer population looking like in Region 2? I know that's Region 2 isn't really known for a lot of mule deer, but there are some there.
Yeah, there are. And, our mule deer opportunities, we've got, I think, about 7 or 8 districts that are open for buck mule deer for the first 3 weeks of the season, not including the last two during the rut. But mule deer as a whole, we are starting to see a decrease in the population. I mean, even statewide, we're
Yeah.
starting to see that as well. And we're not quite exactly sure yet what's causing that. But for the most part, our mule deer are staying fairly level to decreasing a little bit. But this last spring's counts were extremely good for our biologists across the entire state. So this spring we did see a lot of fawn recruitment. So that's
Good. Mhm.
that's really good. And it might have to do with the last couple years of really light winters contributing to that as well. Going into the spring, good body conditions for our does that are carrying fawns. And I think that at least for this year, we're on the up.
Now, do you have it handy as far as what hunting districts that for the bucks only thing you just mentioned?
Yeah, so that's districts 204, 212, 213, 214, 215, 217, 240, and 292.
Okay.
So those, what is that? 8 districts are open on the general license for buck mule deer for the first 3 weeks of the season.
So if you want to get a muley, first 3 weeks, you better get on it. For that.
Absolutely. Yep. And if you don't, those first 3 weeks, you're going to be switching to whitetail hunting.
Go. And we are going to talk a bit about whitetail hunting, but I want to take one more last quick break before we do, and let the great folks at Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer tell us about some of their stuff. And, well, it's me telling you about it because I did a lot of research on this. I was in desperate need, and believe it or not, you're probably going to need one again, and that is for a good snowplow, and they are the Boss snowplow dealer. So check this out. Are you going to get out hunting or to your favorite ice fishing hole this year? Yeah, I know. Finding the time is always the hard part, isn't it? Well, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can help you get the things done that you have to do so you have time to do the things you want to do. How about clearing the driveway or work areas of snow? Yeah, that can be a time sucker for sure. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has just what you need. A huge selection of Boss snowplows and accessories that'll fit any truck or ATV even. Boss snowplows are flat amazing at removing snow fast. Or how about something that can serve you at both work and on your next adventure outdoors? Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has awesome Diamond C utility trailers and accessories that can haul work equipment during the week and then your ATV or snowmobile or other awesome outdoor toys on the weekend. Of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer also has an amazing service department with top technicians and parts pros that are ready to fix or replace whatever you need, from installing a new fifth wheel or gooseneck hitch, or even rewiring the lights on your trailer so they work the way they're supposed to. What about getting some other time-saving accessories for your truck installed? That, my friends, is for sure one of their specialties. And get this, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can even help with financing. Yeah, they've got you covered. This is going to be a great fall and winter season, my friends, especially if you go see Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They're in Missoula at 5680 Expressway. You can call them at 406-549-4243 or check them out online at rmtte.com. That's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, rmtte.com. Get a hold of them today and then start planning that hunting trip. Back here on Montana Outdoor Podcast. Thanks again to Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer and all our sponsors and everybody. Trenton, let's talk whitetail. How are the whitetail populations looking for Region 2?
Oh, really great deal. The whitetail in this region, for some reason, have some amazing recruitment opportunity. And I think you kind of hinted at before, it's not very well known that Region 2 has really great whitetail opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
You can get some big mountain bucks out here. It's a different style hunt. Like, it is really that thick country game where you are really doing your spot and stalk and just slowly walking through the woods. But whitetail out here is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Especially up
my
that
favorite. I loved whitetail hunting in Region 2. It's excellent.
is. And it's funny too, because coming from central Montana, where I was just at before I moved to this job, whitetail primarily, you know, when you get into central Montana, eastern Montana, they're primarily along the river corridors. And so you do really have to rely on private land access out there.
Yeah.
Region 2, they are mountain animals. They will go high up into public land, and you can find them at higher elevations. So it's an easier hunt for guys and gals to get out here for whitetails.
Any particular hunting districts that you would recommend for going after the whitetail? Or is
Yeah, and not necessarily even the specific district, but I mean, up the Blackfoot River corridor is really well known for being prime whitetail hunting. As well as the Bitterroot is pretty good as well down into Ravalli County. That's amazing whitetail hunting. And then funny enough, even all the way out to St. Regis and Superior, down Mineral County, there's quite a bit of whitetail that we're seeing out there as well. So you can anticipate them being almost anywhere. But if you're really trying to specifically go after it, I'd highly recommend looking into the Blackfoot drainage, all the way up to Ovando and whatnot, and then looking down at the Bitterroot.
Yeah, you might be able to hang a nice buck on the wall there. I have heard of a lot of folks that have nailed their biggest buck ever. So for those of you listening from other parts of the state, you might want to think about Region 2 for whitetail. How about black bear? There's quite a few black bear in Region 2. What's that population looking like? Where would we find some good black bear hunting?
Yeah. So black bear, we primarily rely for population counts. We rely on harvest, and harvest over the past couple of years has been increasing. So our population is doing really well. And some of that might have play into the fact that the cat's out of the bag and folks know that Region 2 is a really good opportunity for black bear hunting. But in the fall time, most hunters that bring in black bears to be checked, they're incidentals. So they'll be out there deer or elk hunting with a black bear tag in their pocket, and they'll come across one.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah.
It is. And I personally always keep one in my pocket just in case. But in the springtime, I know this is primarily looking at the fall, but the springtime, we see a lot of folks coming over here to spring black bear hunt. And I do want to throw out, a lot of our black management areas are actually open during the springtime for spring bear and turkey hunting.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, sure enough.
Yep. So folks don't realize that a lot of times. So it's always good if you are going to make this way over for black bear, double check that hunt plan or block management rules and see if you can get on there to chase them.
While we're on the topic of good old Yogi, there is another type of bear in Region 2. You can't hunt them, but we do need to be real careful. The grizzly population, just like for Region 1, has really grown, and I assume that's probably the same for Region 2. Any hot spots or areas where we need to be particularly careful that we might run into grizzly bears in Region 2?
Yeah, so you should always assume that you could run into one anywhere here in Region 2. They are expanding, but really our hot spots right now is that traditional, the Blackfoot Clearwater game range has quite a bit of grizzly bear activity. They're starting to expand into the sapphires, so hunters really want to make sure that they're being bear aware down there. But the further north you go, closer to Region 1, or the Region 1 border, the more likely you are to run into a grizzly bear while you're out there.
Yeah.
And a funny thing too, as looking at hunter usage and everything like that, that's one thing that we're trying to correlate as well, is there are more folks on the landscape. We've been seeing a boom in hunter usage since 2020, especially with the block management program. So more folks on the landscapes means more potential for incidents with grizzly bears. So folks really should be on their game when they're out and be looking around.
Yeah, have that bear spray and know how to use it.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, Dale, because that's one thing I did want to make sure I threw out there to folks, is that if you don't know how to use a bear spray, they do sell inert cans that don't have the component in it that's going to cause your eyes to swell up and stuff. So I highly encourage folks to get their hands on one of those cans. And if you run into one of our hunting access technicians out here on the ground this hunting season,
Mhm.
they've got some inert cans in their truck that we're encouraging them to give to folks
Oh, perfect.
to
Okay.
deploy and check out, because like you said, you have no idea how far that can spray or what it's going to look like until it's game time to use it on a grizzly bear. It's different than what you think, so it's really good to practice.
Yeah. Last question for you, and I really appreciate you taking so much time with me here. What about wolves? I know, like Region 1 is a good wolf hunting area, and they changed the regulations. It's a little confusing if you're not used to it. Talk about wolf hunting in Region 2 and what that's like, and what are the limits there for Region 2? Do you have that handy with you?
I don't have the limits handy because, like you just said, it did get a little bit confusing this year or the last couple years. It's
Mhm.
changed quite a bit on how many you can shoot versus how many you can trap.
Right.
So really make sure to look at that. But here in Region 2, the wolf hunting opportunity is pretty well known as well. Guys do primarily trap for wolves out
Right.
here. That is
Mhm.
the majority that we see coming in, and that might be partly because of the regulations. I do think that you can trap more than you can shoot, if I remember right.
Yeah, and
Um,
if you just go into the regs, and I'll put a link to the regs in there and that, but I think they've done a little better job of explaining how those work. So just read it carefully if you are a wolf hunter. Not a huge number of you that are wolf hunters, but there are opportunities for them.
Yes, and kind of like we talked about with black bears, a lot of wolves that we do see come in during the fall time are also incidentals. I mean, carrying a wolf tag in your pocket while you're out elk hunting, you never know when you might run into a pack and be able to utilize that tag. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad you brought up regulations though, because even if you're out there in the fall hunting elk, you still want to make sure that that tag's legal or valid for that district or what your quotas are.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, like Region 1, you can get quite a few, wolves, and we'll have to go through that, folks, but take a look at it. If you have questions or you're confused, you can email me or Trenton or, and we'll put you in touch with the right people to get that. Uh, so, yeah, have it in your back pocket. What about bird hunting? What would you say is the most popular bird hunting, for Region 2? Of course, they have a few little pheasants here and there, but it's not a big pheasant country. Is it mostly like grouse and that for Region 2?
Yeah, it's primarily mountain grouse. So we've got 3 species of mountains. We've got rough grouse, um, first grouse, and dusky grouse. Rough and dusky is what we used to call blue grouse. So you'll still
Right.
hear that
Mm.
quite a bit. But those are the primary bird species that hunters go after out here. One thing that we have been working on that I do want folks to know about and be conscious of is that we have been doing a sharp-tailed grouse reintroduction out here in Region 2 west of
Oh,
the Colonel Divide. And sharp-tailed grouse, as of right now, you cannot hunt sharp-tails west of the divide.
right.
So, but folks should know the difference between the two, especially since it's a fairly new species that's getting reintroduced.
Good point. Yeah.
They might come across them in some of that mixed habitat where mountain grouse and sharp-tailed grouse overlay. We have been doing an effort, our mitigation crew, the ones that are actually reintroducing the Sharpies, they have been posting signage on some of our block management areas and access points, where they know sharp-tailed grouse are at and they're nesting or utilizing that habitat. So we are trying to make it a point to hunters to know the difference between the two.
I'll see what I can find as far as the links to the identity stuff and that, and I'll put it in the podcast description. That's a really good point.
It is. I always do joke with mountain grouse though that you should always anticipate burning more calories than you'll ever get back
Yeah.
from the grouse.
Yeah. But you're out doing, hunting for other stuff anyway, and it's just cool to get up in those areas. So, yeah,
Yeah.
have some fun out there with it. Uh, let's see, what else am I oh, as far as waterfowl, what are the main waterfowl opportunities in Region 2?
Yeah, most waterfowl hunters, they'll either be utilizing the corridors, the river corridors, or
Mhm.
we do have some geese populations hitting the fields and whatnot. The majority of waterfowl hunting that you're going to see in Region 2 is out by like Deer Lodge, the Warm Springs area. The Warm Springs WMA is very well known for waterfowl activity because
Yep.
there's so many different ponds. And then even some of our fields that we've got enrolled in block management, the geese will hit that hard. So whether you're primarily over a pond waterfowl hunter or a field waterfowl hunter, there's opportunities out here. There's even some folks that like to do the old cast and blast
Oh,
where they
yeah.
take their
That's a lot of fun.
drift boat down or raft down and fish and have the shotgun ready and be able to jump some birds. And it's kind of underrated when you
Yes.
think about it. Yeah.
Um, so what about, as far as challenges that you guys are facing in Region 2? Anything specific that you're wanting us to get information to you in the check stations that you guys are looking for? And do you know where the check stations are for Region 2?
Yeah, so we'll be having 4 check stations this year, and I believe this is where we've historically had them. So
Mm.
we've got one in Darby, we've
Yep.
got the one in Bonner, we'll have one in Anaconda again this year, and then we do have one at the mouth of Fish Creek, which is just west of Missoula,
Mhm.
but, it's only open 4 out of the 5, weekends of the general season. So I think it's it's either the last, don't quote me on that actually, but yeah, 4 out of the 5 weekends, the Fish Creek one will be open. Um, as for things that, would help us at FWP, honestly, we just like to hear what hunters are seeing on the landscape, whether that's more orange, so more hunters out there, where they normally haven't seen it, whether that's more game species. One big thing going back to the sharp-tailed grouse, if people do see sharp-tailed grouse out there, we do really appreciate, them giving us a call and letting us know that they saw one
Yeah.
because we
Good.
really are trying to watch that population closely and see how well they're doing after reintroduction. But one other big thing too, Dale, is that we really do encourage and we want folks to get more involved in the process. I mean, we've got a lot of opportunities for the public to comment. We've got various meetings. We had some season setting meetings this last summer, and it was kind of a bummer. We only had a few folks show up. So
Yeah.
really get involved in the process. And we want to hear your guys' voices. I mean, wildlife is the public's resource. We're just here to manage it. So if there's something you are absolutely adamant about and passionate about, we want to hear about it. We want to hear from our constituents and see what we can do better from our end.
As far as some of the things that have gone really great for Region 2, is there, and this is probably a tough question, but is there any, what would you say is the thing you are most proud of? Or maybe there's a couple of them for in Region 2.
Yeah, I hope I don't sound like a broken record because I feel like this is what a lot of us say at FWP. But honestly, the people that work here,
Yeah.
they have such a passion for what they do. They're diehard hunters and anglers or recreationists. So not only in their job, but in their personal life, they care about the resource. This region has been really well known to historically work well with all of our constituents, the amazing landowners that we've got enrolled in some of our access programs, or landowners we work with conservation easements, even NGO, non-government organization, private landowners are working with us to fulfill our mission of not only managing the resource, but also thinking about how private land management really ties into the public wildlife resource.
Right.
So, but none of that could happen if it wasn't for the folks that are on the ground. Everybody from the front desk staff all the way, to our hunting access technicians who are out there on block managements, making sure folks are following the rules, answering the questions. It's a really tight knit group of people and dedicated to what we do. And just, happy to work with them and work alongside them. And
You guys have a great staff, and I always enjoy talking with everybody in Region 2. Anything else we haven't covered about Region 2 that you want to cover before we head out here?
Yeah, not necessarily any like major warnings or anything like that for
Mhm.
folks, but just reiterating, like, before you show up, really do your research. I mean, days are getting shorter, so after dark, jump on that computer and really start planning your hunt, looking for different opportunities out there. Utilize the resources that are so at our fingertips nowadays that we kind of overlook it. Utilize that hunt planner, and if you do have questions, especially about access, don't hesitate to give us a shout, because sometimes it can be confusing,
Right.
especially when it comes to like road laws and federal land, like federal land management agencies are great about answering the phone calls. But yeah, anything that we can do to help folks that are coming on in as visitors, we appreciate visitors. There's some parts of Montana too that rely on folks coming in for the hunting
Yeah.
season. So funny enough, and maybe this is because I originally was a non-resident when I first moved out here. I've been here for 13 years, still hold it against me, but we still really rely on those non-residents and their license dollars and the impact to our local communities, going back to tourism. So don't be afraid to give us a shout and explain your situation. Say, I'm not from around there, but
Yeah.
I've been looking at this. I've got some questions. So.
Yeah, all of you, and we have a huge audience from all around the world. I mean, you are welcome here. We love to have you. So, just do your research and get it all together, and that's what this podcast is about. So, if there's something that we haven't covered here that you've always wanted to know, let us know. Lastly, Trenton, what is your favorite thing to hunt in Region 2? A lot
That
of
is a
great
great.
hunting in Region 2, so that's a tough one, but any
It is, and I laugh because it's probably also the thing I'm worst at hunting, but I absolutely love chasing elk. I mean,
Yeah.
I just got into bow hunting about 6 years ago, so I really am like getting after that, and I just love seeing the different seasons. My little brother Nolan's coming out next week. We're gonna hit the backcountry for about a
Yeah.
6-day stint, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. It'll be a good time, but I'm also not a good elk hunter, but I absolutely love it.
What I love about Region 2 is you're gonna find something, and, there's a lot to discover here. There's a great community of archery hunters in this area of Montana that are fantastic and usually pretty open at giving you some advice in that. So, a lot to do and see. Anything else, Trenton, before I let you go?
No, I just want to say good luck to the hunters out there this year. And yeah, please give us a shout. Let us know what you're seeing. Take that hunter landowner stewardship course, show gratitude back for landowners. And yeah, good luck this year. And thanks for having me on, Dale.
You bet. Thank you, Trenton. So there you have it, folks. That is Region 2. Now, if we missed anything or that, be sure and hit that podcast description, and you can email me or Trenton, and we'll fill you in on what's going on. Also, if you have a chance and you do some hunting, especially if any of this podcast helped you, send me some pictures and let me know how you did. We always love to learn about that too. So we hope that you guys have a good one out there, and just be safe and be good to each other. And we'll see you next time right here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast.
Thanks for watching the Montana Outdoor Podcast. There's no way we could do this podcast without the incredible support of sponsors like Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock, high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. And of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go see them on the web at rmtte.com. We'd love to hear what you thought of this week's podcast. When you get a minute or two, shoot us an email and tell us your thoughts. Same goes if you have any questions for Rigger or this week's guest. Just send your questions or comments to downrigger@montanooutdoor.com. Hey, don't forget we should be dropping a new podcast this next Saturday. Until then, gang, we hope to see you soon out in Montana's great outdoors.